resell it, right? Probably not. But, are we shipping our gear, or are we going to have us come and fly it?
We shouldn't ship it.
Where are we shipping it to? Which hour stay there? Should be on the door.
All right, so we reset everything, and we still don't have comments.
Well, don't reset it again, please.
Let me just try one more time.
Oh, are you serious?
No, I'm not serious.
Oh, thank God. Good Lord.
Yeah, please retweet it. Interesting. Well, if you can't have the comments, then that's problematic. I guess.
Well, it is 4:33. Should we at least begin talking about Stiff?
Sure.
All right, so for those of you that don't know, we had a new product go live about a week ago called Bob the Axeman's Rebel Training Camp. That's going to be an Airsoft GI event held October 19th at SC Village, the world-famous SC Village. And it's geared toward younger players that are new to the sport, basically under 18 or less than a year of experience. But that does not mean if you don't qualify under those two things that you can't come. You're more than willing or welcome to buy a ticket and head on out there. We would just ask that if you are an experienced player, come out willing to mentor the younger players. Just kind of get them into the sport and explain, some tips or tricks of moving up. Basically, we want to get these folks comfortable advancing into fire and covering their buddies. Basically, just telling them methods on how to play Airsoft more effectively, as opposed to 8 people grouping behind a tiny piece of cover,
which happens a lot.
Also, if you are showing up and you are an experienced player, please leave your 30 rounds per second gun at home. We'd like these kids, or at least these players, just to not get overwhelmed with fire right off the first day. I'm probably going to be using Lancer Tactical Gun or my new spring shotty I just purchased from Airsoft GI. I believe it's a Bravo tri-shot shotgun. But yeah, make sure to sign up for that if you want to go, and make sure if you want to go to my Rebel Training Camp that you buy the tickets now, because something that we always encounter, especially with Tim vs. Bob events, is that people that want to go or that are committed to going, they'll get all their other travel and hotel arrangements set ahead of time and then forget to buy the ticket until the last minute when things are sold out. So if you know you want to go to the world-famous SC Village and visit with myself, Charlie from Level Cap Gaming, or Jet from Desert Fox, or Chris from Warfighter Airsoft, make sure to get your ticket now. It's only $30. Should be a really fun day of play. We're also going to be having a Tactical Gearheads competition for the best Rebel loadout, and we will have a raffle at the end of the day so you can win some cool free prizes.
Indeed.
Yeah. So it should be a really fun day, and I'm going to be there signing autographs and commanding one side, and Jet from Desert Fox will be commanding the other.
There's a couple of vendors that are planning to come out to kind of introduce themselves. Yeah, I'm talking with some of the guys from NC Star, some of the guys from Lancer Tactical, and other types of vendors that are planning to be there that day, so that they can talk directly to the end user, and the new players can talk directly to them, find out what sets their products, apart from the others, and, we're aiming to bring some of the more affordable stuff there. NC Star, they have really affordable scopes, still great quality stuff. Lancer Tactical the same way. Most new players will probably start off, with that and then build their way up.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
So yeah, really great day of gameplay. Should be really fun. Something else to mention actually is something really cool we're doing in our East Coast store in Chesapeake, Virginia. We're actually going to have a boneyard sale September 28th. Now, what I think is really cool about this is that our boneyard sales over here on the West Coast always have a huge crowd. What's really funny to me is that there'll be just as many people lined up to get in the store to get those special deals as there are lined up for the boneyard, and they're generally just running right into the boneyard, and you can find a lot of cool stuff that if you make some minor adjustments, you have a workable gun. I actually talked to a father and son duo that found an M249 saw airsoft gun, and all it had was, I think, a missing fuse. So they put a new fuse in, and they had a functional saw they purchased at a fraction of the price. So yeah, we are going to be having a boneyard sale in our Virginia location on September 28th. if you're all interested, make sure to pop on by there. Say hi to our staff. We've got a bunch of really great folks working there. And we also have a tech now at our East Coast store, which is really great.
Not to be confused with the Bonehead sale. They sell those at other stores. We don't have any of those Boneheads. I tried.
That was a bad joke. That was get out of here.
I was watching. Oh, thank you. I was watching. This is the G&G gun, right? Nice. I was watching that gaming channel, Lag TV.
Yeah.
And, Maximus Black is a black guy, and he was talking about the usage of the N-word and how he, only kind of says it with his cousin. Otherwise, for some reason, that's the only guy in the world who does that. And Nova War came back. It's like, yeah, I have this white friend, and I call him by his first name, and he does the same for me. And I don't know how it went because we were looking at the StarCraft game, but I had a feeling that both of those guys were like looking at each other like how we are now, like, oh, you were trying to be funny.
Yeah.
That was a good one. And then they went on to say like it probably worked for one person out there that's chuckling, and it was me. I was laughing. I thought it was a good one, right? Like, first name or whatever.
Yeah, I really like Lag TV. They're a really funny bunch of guys, especially their series When Cheese Fails. I know you watch that as well as I.
They haven't really had any new episodes.
I've actually been going back to like season 7, season 6. So.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of the old ones too, but yeah, really entertaining bunch of guys. Mark is bringing some more stuff.
Oh, it's a marksman.
Marksman.
Yes.
That's a Magic Box? Magic Box Marksman? They really, with the alliteration and the M's and stuff like that. Oh, this is befitting. Hey, Mark, bring us a KRISS!
Mark, the meatloaf!
The KRISS?
No, KRISS is back in stock.
Oh, it already is back to the man. You guys are fast with that.
Which leads into the fact that we have KRISSes now in stock again.
We do have the KRISS in stock.
We do. Just saying, the KRISS is in stock. Yes.
I'm just saying, the KRISS is in stock.
Exactly. The KRISS always flies off the shelves whenever we get them in, especially the 49-round mags. They are currently out of stock, but we do have the KRISS for sale as well as the 20-round pistol mags, and they will fit in the gun, obviously. But what's really cool about that is that I actually have a lot of pistol mag pouches, and if you have, if you want to get
a lot of pistols, that's why.
I carry a lot of pistols.
I don't carry a pistol. I carry a pistol on the field, but I don't really bother with extra magazines. So.
I'll generally carry a pistol with 2 to 3 extra mags, or just 2 pistols, in addition to my main rifle. But what's really cool about the KRISS is that, you can get these 20-round mags, put them in your pistol pouches. It doesn't take up much room on your plate carrier.
Remember, switching to your sidearm is faster than reloading.
Yes. It's Call of Duty, right?
I think so. Yeah. That was probably the last game.
It was like the training
played
run.
Religiously. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Modern Warfare 2?
Oh, my God. You should play Battlefield 3. But that said, they are in stock. We do have the 20-round mags. We have actually quite a fair amount of them. So if you are looking to get a KRISS setup, that is available. And it's a really fun gun.
Yeah. Unfortunately, all we have are the 20-round mags. We had the 49-rounders in stock on last Friday, but they're all gone. By Monday, we came in, they were all gone. So your only option really is to get those 20-round mags. It's not that bad. And to be honest with you, I personally think the gun looks a little more flush, having the flush magazine. You know, it kind of completes the package. It definitely makes it easier to store. If you wanted to build like one of those suitcase submachine guns, you can have a short mag in there. It could fit into like a smaller suitcase.
Yeah, I've seen those. They have the MP5K in there. If I was going to do like a setup with those 20-round mags, I'd probably have the 49-round mag in there first. Dump it and then go to the 20-rounders.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you, Mark.
And this thing fits on the KRISS, doesn't it?
That is a KRISS rail by Magic Box. You may have seen it on a custom KRISS that we made on our Instagram or on Facebook.
Looks pretty cool.
It adds a lot of rail space to your KRISS, and when you combine or
it's not that heavy either.
Accent the gun, or what do they call it?
Accessorize?
Not accessorize. It's like a good complement. A good complement to the rail extension is to add a barrel extension. Yeah, it complements the rail to have a barrel extension on there, and you kind of get that cool SD look with the rail space, and it makes out for a really neat gun.
Yes, it does make out.
And 20-round mags make the gun look flush on the bottom.
Okay. Another cool thing to mention is that our FMG4s are back in stock. That's another product that flies off the shelves because it is a
humongous value,
ridiculous deal. We actually recently had we didn't have them. Airsoftology did this on their own, but they reviewed our FMG4s. It was a really positive review, so we appreciated that. But they also gave it a really good objective go over. And Airsoftology Jonathan's a genuinely nice gentleman, so
indeed,
and fun to play airsoft with.
I don't know if I played. You know, I was actually talking with him a little bit about that. That year that we went to Irene 3 years ago was the one year that he couldn't go to Irene.
Oh.
So he was planning to go. Something came up. I guess he couldn't go to that game. But I don't think I've played Airsoft with him.
Well, to be perfectly honest, I haven't either. I just heard that from Jet. Jet
Yeah.
had told us that he played with him and he had a really good
They're
time.
part of the Elite Force Pro staff team,
Correct.
so they I'm sure that they get some trigger time in together.
Yeah.
So you're not speaking from personal experience. I don't feel as bad now.
No, but I remember meeting him at a SHOT Show, and he's like a really fun guy to hang out and talk to. Just like Tom Maynard Harris.
Yeah, I think I met up with John and Tom maybe at the Stratosphere last year, 2 years ago. I can't
Oh
remember
yeah.
exactly.
That's why I was like too tired. I just decided not to go.
Yeah.
I kind of regret that, but I was just beat to death.
Yeah, SHOT Show can be kind of, especially waking up that long drive in the morning.
Do you remember when we went out to the range and like everything on your body was fine, but your shoes were so thin,
Yeah,
you're like,
my
feet were freezing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had my TAD jacket on, I had pants, I was ready to go, but my shoes, and I had one layer of socks on, my feet were freezing. It gets pretty cold in the desert in January. People think Las Vegas, they think, oh, it's hot, girls, bikinis, all this stuff. Not in January. Not at night.
So cold.
Not at the shooting range in Clark County, which is out in the middle of it's cold out there.
Yeah, that was a fun day though.
It was super fun. Really, I got to give a thumbs up to Tom, formerly of Pelco, that made that available for us.
He's a really nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, still is.
Yeah.
That said, we've got another product on here. We actually shot a mini review for this today. This is the GHK G5. We actually brought this out to Tax City this weekend, and there's a lot of interest in this. I like it for a number of reasons. I mean, well, it's very ambidextrous. You can even switch the charging handle from either side.
Similar to the Scar.
Yeah. But what I like about that specifically is the fact that one of my first AEG was an MP5, and one of my favorite parts.
Thing right here,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
SD6.
That is an
SD5?
SD.
Yeah.
Is that you can do on this gun? You can do the HK slap or GHK slap.
If you're using the GHK.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, this is a really cool gun. It's actually got blowback comparable to an LM4, maybe a little bit more.
That's because the gun overall is really light, and so
yes,
you feel the bolt when it's moving back.
Absolutely. And I mean, this gun is made all out of polymer, but it's made using DuPont polymer, which is why it's light while at the same time being ridiculously durable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's also got foldable stock, extendable stock, monolithic upper rail, flip up front, flip up rear sight. You can move the rear sight. Yeah, it's just a really cool gun. Really compact. The only thing I can say about it is you probably want to get at least 2 or 3 mags because it holds 40 rounds just like the LM4.
Yeah.
But I prefer to run at least 2 or 3 mags.
I mean, this is what you're looking for. We get questions all the time. When are you going to do something other than M4s? This is it. This is as far away from, I mean, other than the fact that it does take M4 magazines. But the gun doesn't look anything like an M4. The operation is very similar, so that if you have an M4, you're going to be familiar with the weapon manipulation of it. But it's a totally unique gun. It is a replica of the CZ Scorpion, I think. So it does exist in real life. I believe the real one's all completely made out of polymer as well. So it's not like they're cheaping out by going with an all-plastic body. And that's kind of the interesting thing, real guns, they're using space-age materials these days to try to get the weight down.
Yep.
But Airsofters always seem to like heavy guns, so that's realistic. Well, it's realistic if it's light. And like Bob said, the felt recoil on this thing is amazing because most of the gun is polymer. The internals are made out of metal, so you've got that bolt moving back and forth against your shoulder. You definitely feel it.
Yep, that is for sure. This is also available in 2 different colors, black and tan. It's available for around $295 on our website, but you can use a coupon code with it to drop the price by quite a bit. So, yeah, and you get the 2% rewards back, so that's nice.
Indeed. But the GHK G5, really neat gun. Bob likes the GHK slap on that. Speaking of GHK slap, we have the HK slap, the originator.
Yeah.
The MP5 SD. Is this the SD5 or SD6? With the full stock?
Shoot, I can't remember off the top of my head. I would say that's probably the SD5.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I think the SD6 is the wire stock.
I prefer the wire stock just because it feels a lot more spec ops.
I like this one though because it has battery space.
It has battery space, and that is a definite benefit. But for looks, I love having that skeleton stock.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of the MP5. I never really pulled the trigger on one to get as an airsoft gun, though, because at the time that I was playing airsoft a lot, 200 rounds just wasn't going to cut it for me for these high cap mags. But this is a Umarex HK MP5 SD5. The OEM manufacturer is G&G, and this is a part of their Top Tech line. Now, this is not a new gun. This gun is actually just being reintroduced back in the market at a much lower price. I think this thing originally sold for $320 after all of the acquisition of HK and getting the licensing and everything like that. It's now available for $225, I think. So it's almost $100 off. So it's not a bad deal. Like I said, it is a part of their top tech line, so it has the very durable internals and also has the second cylinder and piston to drive the bolt back and forth once as it's being fired. So you will get that pseudo realism of the bolt moving back and forth to eject the shells. Of course, this is airsoft; you don't have any shells going anywhere. But it's definitely a really cool gun. It was definitely a futuristic looking gun for the '80s when it came out.
Oh yeah.
And still, in many ways, looks really awesome still today. Even this reminds me of, I think, wasn't Charlie Sheen holding one of these at the cover of Navy SEALs, the old school movie?
Mm-hmm.
There you go, Jet. Movie reference right there. Jet's in love with the Uzi because Chuck Norris used it in Delta Force, but Delta Force, whatever. I know that your first gun, you've already mentioned it, kind of. Your first gun was an MP5, wasn't it?
It was a Classic Army version 1 MP5, full metal.
Sorry.
Yeah, that was a pain in the ass. It locked up on me a number of different times, and it was also ridiculously heavy.
Yeah, that was one of the early AEGs that Classic Army came out with.
It was one of the first ones.
They have since improved their formula, but Bob was one of those unfortunate souls. I ended up pulling those.
Yeah. I was still really happy with it for a number of years. I just hated having to, it was so hard to take it apart. I honestly didn't even know how, so I had to take it to a friend of mine who knew about that, and he was able to unlock the gearbox. But I will say, Classic Army has come leaps and bounds ahead of, that was I think over 10 years ago.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
They've definitely vastly improved their guns. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That said, I've always had a soft spot in my heart for the MP5s. I actually always want to have an SD, but couldn't afford to get it. So.
Me too. Like I said, I've always liked them. I just, when I was playing, CQB back in the day, just couldn't.
All your high caps.
Yeah, I know, man. The 300 round mags. Because you have to look at it from my standpoint. The gun was virtually the same, right? The gearbox was a Virtue gearbox. The barrel length, my barrel length was about the same on my CQB M4. So virtually all I was changing was the skin of the gun, and the fact that I couldn't use my M4 magazine. So not only would I had to have used less capacity, I would have had to rebuy all my magazines, and so I went with the option of just getting different length M4 so that my magazines would all be compatible. So I didn't really start branching out into different guns until much later in my career.
That sounds like the main reason people get M4s is that they're so ubiquitous, but
Yeah.
also the fact you can transition all these different accessories and magazines to them.
And on that same topic of magazines, you recently did a video of all the other types of guns out there that use M4 magazines that aren't M4s. So, again, I have 2 Scars. Magazines are all the same as my M4s. The M16 is pretty much an M4, but you're talking about using, the F2000, the L85, the Tavor. There's a lot of other different types of guns out there that you can get that are not M4s, but will still allow you to use your magazine, so you don't have to re-buy mags in the future. HK 416s, those guns all use M4 magazines.
Oddly enough, the FAMAS does not use an M4 magazine.
We found that out. I originally had that gun on the docket for the video, and you brought it up. I don't know if that uses M4 mags, and so.
Well, also the real first version FAMAS, they couldn't use standard NATO magazines. So
really?
Yeah, they came out the second version, I believe.
Okay.
Nice, Mark. Nice.
Is this the Nagant?
Yeah.
Ooh, restock on it? Did we already sell out of our first?
We sold it 15 minutes ago on the website.
Holy cow. I don't have a lot of info about this gun. I know it's a Mosin Nagant. Who makes it?
Red Fire.
Yep. Red Fire Mosin Nagant. I can tell by the feel of it that it's a solid wood stock. Everything looks really authentic.
What's amazing about this is I think they got the sight picture just right, how the original one was too.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, this feels solid.
It feels really solid, right?
Real wood. Oh, God, this is awesome. What I would do about this is that I would just put this on a wall because it looks so realistic. I don't know. This is just awesome.
This is a gas-powered bolt-action gun.
Yes.
Right?
Okay. There's gas, there's spring, there's 2 versions.
I would get gas first.
Nice. Wow. Yeah, the gun, you can't see it.
I don't know how to unlock this, I guess.
You can't see it through the video, but the gun feels really solid. The finish on the wood is fantastic. Mark is going to teach us how to use it now.
Is it spring or gas?
Mark, take care of that.
Okay.
Take care of that.
He's going to go play with that.
But yeah, the Mosin Nagant, classic gun. I'm not a big fan of classic guns, to be honest with you.
You like any of the gates?
It's all about, I like the movie, but it's all about user friendliness, combat effectiveness for me. So that's why when I went over my tactical gear heads, I mentioned, like, I don't have military-esque looking gear. I have gear that's going to work for me on the battlefield. What I need is magazines. So I have rows of magazines, magazines on my hip, magazines on my leg. You know, it's kind of a modular setup, so I don't have to have all those mags if I don't need to. But, you know, I don't really see the need for, you know, like glow sticks or zip ties or all that other stuff. I mean,
well, that's all
not
like
to take away from that at all.
That's all mostly cosmetic. But I did play. It was actually at Line Clause 1 when we were clearing the mountain town tonight, basically the city at Target Zone Paintball. And one of my squad members would actually just drop a green chem light in each building we cleared, so we knew, you know, which building we cleared. And also when people come into that building, you know, after we cleared it, we'd see the shadows. So it worked out pretty well. Okay, so that's a really practical application for something like that, but it's not something I'm really worried about. If somebody's in a room I've already cleared, I'm just going to clear it again. You know. Shoot first, ask questions later. That's always been my motto. That seems about right for the Timpire.
Yes. The victorious Timpire, might I add.
Well, we're actually completely tied for the series of Tim versus Bob. All 6 games, you've won
1.5 to 2.
Oh,
4 and 4.
You cannot. I know you always is, but you cannot count 4.5 as like half a game because that was a full day of gameplay. It's completely separate from the previous day, and we agreed upon this. I will count it
however I want.
Tim, if you'd have won that, you would have counted that as a full game.
I would have counted it as a half.
Oh, you're full of crap. You were so full of crap. Whatever.
We're tied up 2 to 2.
Yes, we are.
1.5 to 2.
You're a whore. Okay.
Rounding up.
I hate you.
Depends on what school of mathematics you go under.
Oh my God.
If we have to go by integers,
I'll go by college graduate mathematics. How about you?
Integers, whole numbers, right?
Whatever.
Yeah, you have to round fractions up.
Okay. Something else, just to get away from your awfulness. We actually are offering a bag of BBs for any order, or excuse me, for any gun purchases over $90. So, you know, if you buy a Lancer Tactical, PDW, or if you buy a G&G, anything, or any gun over $90, you're going to get a free bag of, I believe, 0.25 gram Lancer Tactical
and
BBs.
This is the cool thing about this. We're not just giving you some junky 2.0 BBs because, you know, 2.0s aren't as
stable.
Yeah, ubiquitous. You know, I think 2.5s are more used nowadays in Airsoft. More players are realizing that 2.5s are much more stable in flight. No matter where you're indoor or outdoor, it'll add a little bit of accuracy at range. So we're giving you 5,000 counts of 2.5 BBs, 4-gun orders over $90. So if you have an order in your shopping cart, it's $90, but there's no gun in it. Just throw a gun inside, and you'll get a bag of BBs for freezies. It's a decent bag of BBs, like I said, 5,000 count. They're made by Lancer Tactical. They're nice and smooth. They're nice and round. And they're 0.25 grams in weight. And so you're going to have a little bit better accuracy than your average 2.0 BBs.
The scope is clear.
It's nice, right?
It comes with a gun.
This is the one that has the bayonet, right? Yeah. You can attach a bayonet to the thing, extending the length of the gun by about 300 feet.
Yeah.
So it's just.
And this is already a pretty long gun.
Yeah, it definitely is.
It's funny, when I first got into sniping in Airsoft, I remember I was eagerly awaiting the Tanaka M700 to come out.
Yeah.
But at the time, what my friends and actually folks. Okay. All right. So what Mark was just saying is that the magazine and the gas system for this is all internal, so you really won't have to carry anything else. You're basically just kind of load it into the gun.
We'll do a video on this in the future while you'll understand.
Oh, that's cool.
Get it, Mark.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
When I first got into airsoft sniping, like I was previously mentioning before Mark left, the Tanaka M700 had yet to come out. So well, my friends had told me the only viable option, at least for them, was the Kar98K, which was a German bolt-action rifle. But it was actually very effective on the airsoft battlefield. You could reach out to ranges pretty far.
It was very effective on the real battlefield.
Well, yeah, but for airsoft at the time, like that was a really effective sniper rifle. The only thing is you could only mount the scope on that like halfway down the gun.
Yeah.
So, but this is bitch.
Speaking of sniper rifles, why don't you pick up that M24 right there, and I'll take this off your hands. Whatever. That is another gun. Oh, man, this thing's so
I know, it's awesome. And it's like, it's really affordable too. Like on our website, I thought our website went for like, in the, like the clearance section, I think it was going for like $200.
That's pretty...
It was marked down from quite a bit.
That's not bad when you're considering the fact this is a real wood stock. The finish on this is fantastic. You know, comes with a scope. I don't know if the scope version was the one you were looking at, but
yeah,
it's definitely a really cool gun.
Yeah.
Bang. But
sounds.
yeah, dude, our friend Buddha has one of these. This thing is extremely loud.
Yeah, yeah. No, I've shot next to that before, and it's.
I mean, a real one.
Yeah, no, I know. I remember. It kicks like a mule, that's for sure.
Indeed.
All right, so this is the M24.
That is the Modify M24. It is a pre-upgraded sniper rifle, and some people are asking, well, what does pre-upgraded mean? Well, the internals of this gun already have an aluminum spring guide and an aluminum piston, which are typical parts that you might upgrade on a sniper rifle if you wanted to go with a high FPS build. But because this gun already comes with it, if you wanted to increase the FPS greater than from the factory, all you would need to do is drop the spring in, because it already has the supporting parts to make that feasible. The trigger box is all metal. Frank was telling me a bunch of other stuff that I can't remember right now, but you know, I think that if you wanted to put like a new barrel or new hopper bucking, that might be beneficial if you're looking for a little additional accuracy. But as far as the structural integral parts that are moving, that take all the stress, like the piston, the spring guide, and stuff like that, those were already upgraded into aluminum, so we're good to go with that gun.
Now, I'm pretty sure this scope does not come with this gun.
It does not. We still on there for looks.
But one nice feature about this that, you know, some people who aren't, you know, accustomed to this gun may not know about right off the bat is it does have an adjustable stock.
Oh, yeah.
So you can basically adjust that to the, you know, where exactly you want your shoulder or how far away you want that from your person.
Yeah.
And also what's nice about this gun, in addition to a couple other sniper rifles, is that the hop-up adjustment is right along the barrel. So as you're playing, you can adjust it on the fly. If your shots are going way off mark, you can just do it right there while you're cycling the gun. So that is pretty cool, and you know, honestly, airsoft sniping can be really fun. You just have to like understand that, you know, you are limiting your firepower quite a bit in the pursuit of accuracy. But it is really fun when you get those single shot kills.
Sniping is something that a lot of newer players really want to get into. I personally don't recommend it, but if it's your thing and you like it, then definitely go for it. But like Bob said, you just need to make sure that you're aware that you're not going to have the firepower, the rate of fire that some of the other guys in the field are, so you have to make the shots count.
I mean, I would suggest if you're thinking about getting the sniping and you're just getting into airsoft, get a sidearm, get a holster, then get the gun, and like get a sling for this, and then, you know, play around with this on the field. And if you feel that you're really getting like overpowered, pull out the sidearm, go to work, and then go back to this when your sidearm's out. Just because it really sucks to get cornered holding one of these, because you're not going to be able to hold your own if you're going up against like 3 or 4 people with AEGs.
Let me see. This is the one with the light in the magazine, right? Okay. The magazine is not in here, but one unique feature about this gun is that it kind of has a built-in tracer.
Oh, this is that gun you're talking about.
Yeah, okay. The magazine's not here, but once you put the magazine in, there's a little light. I don't know if it's an LED or what have you. There's a little light that stays on, and so if you're using glow-in-the-dark BBs, it will charge your BBs so that they glow, and you can see it while it's being fired. And in some ways, that's a lot more beneficial than your standard tracer unit that goes onto the end of your barrel, because you don't have to make your barrel any longer than it already is. You're already using a really long gun, and so mobility becomes an issue at that point once you add another, what, 8 to 12 to 16 inches, depending on how long your barrel extension is on there.
I don't think the tracer's going to be that long, but
some of them are. Some of them are. But yeah, I mean, the fact that it's kind of already built in the gun, if you get some tracer BBs that are about 3.0 weight or heavier, you've got a built-in tracer unit in this gun, and you can actually see where your BBs are firing. Not to mention, it'll look really cool at night.
Yeah, especially if you're sniping and that one round either hits someone or goes right past the enemy commander. Like, that's the cool thing about tracers and sniping in particular, that it scares the crap out of enemy players, especially when they don't know where it's coming from.
But it usually, people can trace back to where the BB's coming from. So
if it's got a tracer.
Yeah, you better be ready to move. But yeah, this is definitely a cool gun. We're actually going to have Mark take this thing apart so that we can show you guys the pre-upgraded piston and spring guide and all the other internal parts in this thing in the very near future. But yeah, I mean, we've gone over 2 sniper rifles, 2 SMGs, Mark's pistol kind of at this point, and a KRISS rail system. Cool. And it's actually a little bit befitting that we have the GHK G5 here and the MP5. Because one thing that I think would be really cool to discuss, Bob, is AEGs versus gas guns.
Yeah.
So I bring this up because Marcus Aurelius, our friend Mark, in the
co-worker, perhaps?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We have lots of nicknames for him. The Horse, Marcus Aurelius, whatever. He is or was pretty well known for those slow speed AEG builds where he would be shooting like 40 or so BBs a second.
Yeah, I was saying Tim says slow speed, but what he means is ultra high rate of fire.
It's not ultra high rate of fire because then all the guys on ASM are going to be like,
oh.
So
I say build
slow,
it faster.
I say slow speed because it's slow to them and whatever. I mean, those guys make some fast guns. But, I mean, he's kind of transitioned from using AEGs to using his LM4 a lot more recently.
Once he told me he got into gas guns.
Yeah,
he was getting into
like,
gas guns. Like,
what?
you've seen the lights? Oh, man. Yeah, I was very happy.
I have an LM4, but I have since used AEGs. I kind of go back and forth depending on what's more beneficial to me or how I feel. But Mark seems to be really gung-ho on this gas blowback kick. Pun intended.
Yeah, pun intended. Yeah.
And Bob, I know that you said that you started off with Classic Army MP5, but you're also a really well-known player for using gas guns. And so I'm wondering, mentally, the transition, what was it like for you? Was it like, I'm going to use gas guns now, and they're just so much better? Or what is it with you that has you reaching for your KMP5 or KMP9 or your LM4? Sorry. Your LM4 or your MP9, why do you reach for that gun more so than, let's say, your other guns?
All right, well, to correct a few things, the first airsoft gun I ever got was a gas gun. It was a KSC G18C.
Okay. We'll get to pistols later.
Okay.
Primary guns, yeah.
What really got me to the gas gun craze was when I purchased that KMP9. I just kind of fell in love with gas guns with that because the KMP9 is so loud and the rate of fire is so fast. It is so much more fun than any of the AEGs I ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, it was just... I don't know, it just felt more realistic using that because, like, you know, I'd run the gun dry, I'd check the chamber, then I'd, like, pull the mag out, put it back in, release the bolt, and it just felt so much more badass. So I knew even though I had less firepower, I was comfortable, like, going on semi-auto. And I actually, you know, I felt, it sounds stupid, I felt better about myself for being able to succeed on the field of airsoft battle, even in spite of the fact that, you know, people like Mark were out.
That's kind of what I wanted to get at, because I think a lot of you out there, maybe some other airsofters that aren't watching, they're probably thinking about dabbling in the gas gun business, but they don't know if they can get over that, oh man, I'm going to be so far outgunned. So what, I mean,
well,
I'm sure that's entered your mind, so how have you dealt with that and how have you progressed through it?
How I've dealt with that is that, you know, I've basically tried to become more accurate with my shots, and, you know, being on semi-auto because I have a limited amount of mag space has just made it that much more easy. I mean, I think you'll notice that in a lot of the shots, like when we played AEGs versus gas guns at Hollywood Sports Park, a lot of my shots were pretty quick and pretty, I guess, I don't know, like snapshots almost, and I knew exactly where they were going to go because I'd used the gun so much, and the KMP9 and the LM4 are so accurate, even right out of the box, that I didn't have an issue. It's just like, plop, plop, I know right where it's going to go. And that's the thing with a lot of like the AEG players is that, you know, a lot of times they're spraying and praying, at least for, you know, that day. So they're not exactly sure where the BBs are going to go. I mean, obviously, like, you know, when you use your SCAR, you know where the BBs are going to go because you've used that gun so much. But yeah, generally, like, I guess I just kind of discount the fact that I'm going to be at a disadvantage because of the fun I'm having. But the fact
you overlook it.
I overlook it, but also I found that, you know, I'm almost just as competitive as the AEG players because I'm so much more accurate with that gas blowback.
There is an aspect of knowing where your BBs are going to go and being able to put them on target within 1 or 2 shots that I think that a lot of people don't realize. And I can kind of remember back to, at a time when I was playing at Airsoft Playground at Tech City a lot, I was really familiar with the field because I was playing there like 4 times a week, and I would just own people. And so there would be certain times where I was just like, you know, I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to use my pistol, my gas blowback pistol.
Yeah.
Everyone else, it wasn't a pistol game, so other people had AEGs and stuff on the field, but, you know, I just feel like I'm going to mix it up a little bit and challenge myself a little bit. And some of the refs over there can attest, like, I would still be able to be effective in the same way that you were with your gas gun, even though everybody else had full auto, had 300 rounds. You know, you just kind of, you wait for that shot, and you wait to pick your shot, and, you know, it only takes 1 BB to get somebody. So in that sense, full auto is not really that effective.
Well, also another advantage that gas guns have over AEGs is that you're not going to have that quarter-second cycle time, basically for the motor to cycle up, that you are with the gas guns. Like, you're basically going to pull the trigger, it's going to fire right away. And in addition to that, I mean, my Classic Army version MP5 is not the best example, but when I would try and fire semi really fast, it would eventually lock up the motor because I would, you know, keep pulling the trigger so fast. But with gas guns, you're not going to have that problem. Basically, as fast as you can pull the trigger, that's as fast as it's going to fire.
And then sometimes, if you guys are watching this, some of you guys are pretty experienced players, you should try playing with your gas pistol on a field where other players have their normal primaries, because I mean, Tech City's set up, you know, it's basically just wood boards and stuff like that, and it's kind of like a maze. But I remember very distinctly, there's a couple of guys behind, you know, a pallet, and pallets have holes in them. And the Tokyo Marui High Kappa that I was using at the time is a very accurate pistol, so you just kind of spot out where you guys are, fire a couple shots in between some pallets, and you've got some guys out. And realistically, if you think about it, if you're playing force on force and it's like 5-on-5, as long as the teams are even, if you kill more than one person, you've done your job that day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, ideally, if everyone on your team can just kill one person, then the game's over. Obviously, there's some players that hold more weight than others, but doing it with a gas pistol or another gas gun, while other players have the firepower and the magazine capacity of a high cap and an AEG, is definitely really gratifying.
And on that topic, actually, I went up to Tax City this Sunday for their Veterans Day, and I actually went out on the field with 2 spring pistols. And I did that.
No, Counter-Strike reload?
No. Because you know we didn't have extra mags, that's why I took 2 pistols. Okay. I just had one, and then when that one went dry, I went to the other.
That makes sense.
I should have brought a dump pouch because when I was like, all right, this one's done. You know, it took too long. But yeah, no, I did it to challenge myself, and I remember like, damn, I'm not gonna get any kills unless I get really close to the team, like point blank. And I remember running up really far and being like, wow, I'm really too far ahead of everyone. No, it wasn't that I was too close. I was like, I'm too far from my own teammates. Like, I need some mutual support. But I ended up getting a bunch of kills, and it was actually really fun. I was like, I'm in a bad spot here. So it was pretty awesome. I ended up charging not a bunker, but a wall with a window that had 3 guys behind it. And as I charged at it with the spring pistol and the tomahawk, apparently I ran into 4 different people's lane of fire. So
you got it. Yeah.
And then one guy with a purple shotgun came out of the corner and was like, "You're dead."
A purple shotgun?
Yeah.
Somebody's outdone you, bud.
I know, right? Awesome. Yeah. I congratulate the guy on his class. So
I mean, it's not that I have anything against the AEGs, and like I said, since I've gotten into gas guns with my LM4 and stuff like that, I have still used AEGs. You know, TVB5 is a great example of it. I used an AEG throughout the entire game, but I don't know. There is something really cool about gas guns. AEGs, I think, still have their place, and it's definitely going to be the staple for Airsoft, I think, for the foreseeable future. And there's so many different options for customizing the gun internally and externally and stuff like that.
I actually went back to gas guns for the first time in a long time at TVB5. I was using my old Tokyo Marui AK-47 that was non-functional until I gave it to the Airsoft GI techs. They souped it up, tuned it up, and just made it awesome. There's like a kit now, and honestly, like
I said you went back to gas guns.
Oh, sorry, I meant to say I went back to AEGs. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Because I haven't used an AEG at least for recreational or even operational airsoft play for a long time.
Yeah.
But I knew I needed the firepower against the Tempire, so I brought that. And to be honest, like it was kind of like liberating to have that much ammo and to be able to just spray as much as I wanted. So that was pretty cool.
I definitely used a lot of ammo, making sure I can move my Tempire forces around a lot to cover for them and stuff like that. So sometimes that same effect can't really be had on semi-auto. You just need to send a lot of BBs down there. You know, when people start hearing BBs hitting walls and stuff around them, they're less likely to peek their head out.
I will say one of the cooler moments I've had in Airsoft was had at SC Village, and I think the KWA folks were out there, and I went out with my LM4 for I believe it was the first time, and I only had like 2 mags with it. And I went out there, and the guys that I ran up with, actually all 4 of them had LM4s as well, and some enemy guy ran around the corner, and all of us opened up at the same time. And when we stopped firing, I was like, that was effing cool! Because it was just so cool. Like, all of us were shooting gas guns. It was like all of us opened up. I don't know. It's just, I haven't really had that since, but it's just so awesome.
Gas pistols, Bob.
All right. Well, you know, I do like spring pistols. There aren't that many electrical pistols that I would suggest using, but
there aren't many that I would suggest using.
Well, you had that mini one.
What?
Didn't you have, what's that minigun?
Oh, it's not like an electric pistol, though. It's just like one of those scaled down.
It's an electric.
It's an electric. It's an AEG, technically. It's an automatic electric gun. Yeah, but
low-powered electric gun.
Yeah, but no, actually, Tokyo Marui came out with like electric Glocks.
Yeah, I know. I remember that.
Really teeny tiny gearboxes, and those things are junk.
Yeah.
I mean, the same way that AEGs are kind of the staple for primaries, I think, in Airsoft, gas blowback pistols are definitely going to be the staple for secondary weapons.
Oh, yeah. Well,
in Airsoft.
There is, like, 2 camps to choose from. It's basically like green gas or CO2.
Yeah.
And, you know, I hadn't really used a CO2 pistol until right before Timber Spot 4 and 4.5. Right? Yeah, the Elite Force 1911 TAC. And I got to say, like, after using that, like, I'm totally down with CO2 pistols. I mean, basically,
It just made me a believer in that gun, too,
Yeah.
because I think that, you know, some of the guys from Leaf were talking about, okay, yeah, you know, it's an affordable 1911, it's really cool. But then Jet was like, dude, this gun is awesome. And so I was like, okay, there might be something to this here. And Jet's telling me about this gun. And so
it's also pretty accurate, too.
Yeah, he gave it to me. Well, I haven't had a chance to test the accuracy, but just firing, it feels really awesome, especially on a fresh canister of CO2. And the kickback is great. I mean, I've been made a believer in CO2 guns after that.
It definitely kicks like a mule, which is my, you know, it's my main thing about that I like. But I do remember at Tim vs. Bob 4.5, Jet was rocking a Polar Star and he was running low on gas. And I was down to my pistol, and we were literally just stuck in a forest as your guys were pushing up with all that red smoke.
Yeah.
And I was like, they basically came to my right side, and I was like, Jet, right there. And he opened up, and I was like, pop, pop, pop. And I saw one guy, and I think I had like 1 or 2 rounds left, and I fired, and just out of nowhere, he's like, ah! It just goes over. And I was like, I hit that guy. Yeah. But yeah, no, it definitely fires pretty far, pretty accurately, and it kicks like a mule. And it's also really affordable. So, oh, and another thing is that the CO2 pistols are going to be able to handle weather a lot better than green gas pistols will.
Yes.
So.
And also, I mean, there's also something to be said about once you have that CO2 thing loaded up, provided you don't hear any leaks or anything like that, there's no guesswork as to whether you've got gas in your gun. You know, once you put the CO2 thing in and load it up, you've got gas. You know, and then you can visibly or physically hear once the CO2 is starting to run out, similar to gas guns. But I mean, I can remember a little bit of confusion on my part during TVB 4.5. My KWA 1911 didn't have that little gasket in the fill valve. And so while I was filling my magazine, you know, I thought gas was going inside. There was a little bit coming out, but there wasn't any going inside. And it really bit me in the ass because I got to a point where your rebel forces got behind enemy lines into the tower.
Oh, really?
Yeah, into the tower. I can't remember which game this was, but I noticed. And I was like, oh, shit, there's guys in the tower. Like, I need to clear this out. Unfortunately, I've been so trigger happy, I used up pretty much all of my magazines. And so I fired the last of the BBs out of my AEG. I set that down. I pull out my pistol, and I only have 1 mag, which is 14 rounds, right? And I have to clear the entire tower. I'm like, all right, let's do this. And so I start to, like, you know, slice the pie, getting into the tower, and I see some guy, he doesn't notice me. I'm like, pop! And 1 BB goes, and I think it, like, hits him in the knee, but it wasn't even traveling, like, 150 FPS or something like that. And I was like, oh, I am out of gas.
You're so screwed.
Like, oh no!
And that's why I carry extra gas on.
Yeah, and so I mean, I went back to my AEG. I tried to like find some BBs or something like that to put in there. It just didn't work out. I ended up getting shot up, but I just can remember specifically. I was like, okay, I'm gonna clear this, man. It's gonna be awesome. I'm just gonna start from the bottom level and go up and just clear it. It's gonna be Rambo style, right? Poop, out of gas. Nope, not happening, Tim.
Man down.
What sucks is I had that guy dead to rights who wasn't even looking at me, because if he was paying attention to the sector that he was supposed to, he should have shot me.
If you'd had a rubber knife,
he was way too far. There's no way.
Whatever.
There's no way I'm going to clear.
Maybe.
No way. There's no way I'm going to clear a tower with a knife.
If you did, it'd be awesome.
That would have been awesome. That would have been like a slap in the face to those rebel forces. But man, they let Tim clear the whole tower with a knife.
Oh, if I heard that you cleared 4 stories of rebels with a single knife and no BBs, I'd be like, you guys are doing something wrong, and he's doing something way right. So
that definitely would have been cool.
Yeah.
But knowing your guys, they probably would have killed me and just walked off.
Well, because a lot of my guys carry melee weapons as well.
Yeah.
So.
But what I'm saying is, like, had I died, and actually I did die, they wouldn't have even bothered to try to capture me because they probably forgot it was an objective.
My favorite part of that was like when we did the charge through the town when your guys had vacated the property, and we went around a bend, and you're just standing in the middle of the road, and because you just couldn't believe what was going on.
What was happening? It was just like, we had this.
They were like, Tim's in the middle of the road. I was like, well, go get him. Like, don't stand here and tell me about it.
I like pulled myself out of the game. Like, I have to like stand back and like understand what's going on right now. Like, I'm having an outer body experience because we had you guys pushed so far forward, and it just crumbled. It crumbled right in front
Cue
of me.
the Peruvian flute band music. Yeah,
I've never been to Paris.
Oh, that's a funny joke.
Peruvian.
Same thing, different continent. I also have a funny story about a gas pistol, which I've told before. When I was leading a charge at Tim vs. Bob 4, and I was a bit overzealous about it, I ended up having to stop at one of those road barriers, and ended up puking into my communications gear, and then puked further, And Aaron Rose, who is one of the refs over there, and one of the
main dudes.
Yeah, main dudes. We'll call him that.
HMFIC.
Yeah. He showed up and he's like, "You all right, Bob?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm just beautiful." And he's like, "Ha ha ha, that's funny." And then shoots over me and the Imperial Guards, and he's like, "Ha ha ha, blam blam." And then the mag just falls out right into the puddle of my puke. And he's like, "Oh no!" Oh, I was like, "Ha ha."
Yeah.
Yeah, that
goes around.
I wish my camera had still been on.
Oh, that was so
priceless.
Awesome.
So I like the puke cam. It's kind of fun.
Puke cam is funny. It's just anytime somebody makes fun of somebody for something and then it comes full circle.
Yeah.
Kind of like with you and the handicap.
Oh man, that was so embarrassing.
I think we've told that story before.
Yeah, we don't have to retell it. That's really embarrassing.
That's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it was pretty funny though.
There's been a couple of foot in mouth moments with Bob that are very memorable, and if you get the chance to meet him, maybe if you're real nice, he might tell you that story.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Boom. AEGs versus gas guns.
Done.
I wish we could get the opinion of more people watching, but what's up with YouTube, man? This comments going up.
There's actually something else that maybe we can save for the next show, but like gas sniper rifles versus spring sniper rifles.
Well, that'll be your forte. I don't really
know anything about it.
I know lots. I know a lot about gas sniper rifles and spring sniper rifles. I just don't use them.
Whatever. Fine.
We should have a top tech challenge upgrading some sniper rifles. You versus me. How about that?
Well, I mean, I could take apart a gas sniper rifle and replace like the barrel.
Put it back together.
Yeah, I did it to my Tanaka, and then I promptly shot the hop up at it. I did
fire one.
I was like, what did that? What came out? And I was like, what is this rubber? Oh my god. Yeah. No, I remember. Yeah, I remember taking it to a
We have different strengths.
Yeah. Yes, we do, and different weaknesses. I carry too much stuff. You carry not enough.
Just enough.
No.
Just the right amount.
No.
Just the right amount.
I remember when I had to.
TVB5.
I remember when I had to badger you into keep like carrying a sidearm. I was like, Tim, you're gonna want it in case you run out of BBs or in case your gun goes down. And you're like, Bob, my gun's not gonna go down. My gun's not gonna go down. And you started carrying sidearms for a while then, and now you carry sidearms all the time. Don't recollect.
Carry sidearms sometimes.
Sometimes.
It really depends on the game, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't see a need to use it if I'm gonna play like high speed stuff at like Tag City or HSP or something like that. Like, I'm not really gonna need it.
I just like it for those moments, like, you know, when you reload and you're fumbling with it and someone comes around the corner. It's like you don't have time to go for that mag. You just sidearm. And I remember, at TVB5, like when I almost got captured, if I hadn't had my sidearm, I would have been dead meat. Because the guy couldn't see my sidearm.
I couldn't believe he didn't like shoot you or something.
He should have, but I actually figured out by looking at the footage, I think he actually may have gone out into the ready area and then come back in because that's right where my guy starts. So he just walked back in the door. So it's a little bit cheating, a little bit.
He just didn't re-enter the game the same place that he left.
Yeah.
Technically, he did re-enter the game the same place.
Well, he probably should have gone all the way back to get respawned at your.
A little bit more honorable.
Yeah, but
without knowing for sure, we won't speculate.
Yeah, I honestly don't know for sure, but just looking at the footage, it looks like that theory would lend itself to being true. But that said, I mean, nobody saw that happen. So I was really impressed he was able to get me and try and walk me over there. And I told him, I was like, you should have shot me.
Yeah, because then you wouldn't have been able to say anything, right?
Well, I don't know exactly how it worked, because the capture rules of that game were a little bit up in the air, because Jet told me, he's like...
Capture rules have always been really murky ever since TV1.
Yeah, you mean when I personally captured you.
No, not that part. The part where the guys were like, oh, Tim, you're coming with us.
Oh, yeah, that was funny.
So I'm like, how much resistance can you actually do?
Yeah, that's the thing is, Jet had told me, he's like, yeah, but if you get captured, just, use your knife or use your melee weapon, and you can get out of it. I was like, well, what if they shoot me again? He's like, well, just use your knife and use your melee weapon and get out of it. And I was like, that doesn't...
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the gray area about Airsoft. So you don't want to take anybody's, personal properties, and you're responsible for it. You know, if you break it, somebody's going to be real mad at you. And, as a capture E, you don't want to just willingly go to the other team.
Oh, no.
So it's where are you going to find that balance of, like, do I disarm this guy? Do I handcuff him? Like, what's going on here?
My plan was if people, wanted to capture me, I was just going to sit down and be dead weight. Because I had so much crap on me.
Yeah.
Like,
no way they're going to drag you all the way across the
No, it would have been like 2 or 3 players had to, grab my body arm and be like,
let's do this.
Yeah.
They probably would have taken 4 guys.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. It'd be like the nuke.
4
players have to carry this back.
Dude, that nuke situation was so... I was actually legitimate. When they told me the nuke was in play, I was mad at Jet. I was really, really mad at him because if you had gotten the nuke, you would have won. And that would have been like, it would have negated all the hard work my guys did at the beginning of the day.
Yeah.
And so that was a really risky move by Jet. Fortunately, we pulled that off and got it off the field right away.
Well, the interesting thing is that had he not put the nuke in, by the points, actually, let me calculate in my head, but I think, like, had he not put the nuke into play, just by me escaping, I would have won. It would have been, like, literally 1 to 2 points apart.
No, I would have won either way.
No, I think you were at, like, 96, and nuke,
No,
or,
I had it way over, like, almost 200 points.
No. When we ended, you ended at 147. And I had, like, 96.
No, trust me. I already worked it out with Jet before the game started. And so
that sounds shady.
Not before the game. Before the game 4 started,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I was working the numbers in my head too, and I was talking with Jet about it. I'm like, as it stands right now, no matter what happens, I've already won the game. And Jet's like, yeah, technically you're right. And so that's
probably why he threw the nuke.
When he put the nuke in, I was like, oh my god, because I told him that. I was like, dude, you can't switch something up to, you know, just give Bob the chance to win, because that negates all the hard work the guys did.
Well, I will say, like,
right?
you don't want, like, the last evolution to, like, mean nothing. Like, you want it to, like, be able to sway something.
But I think that, I mean, maybe we can take notes of this for TV6. They need to be predetermined before the game starts. I feel like some of that stuff is just kind of made up that day, and that's why there's a little bit of.
Well, they didn't make it up that day because they were working on that nuke.
No,
for
definitely. No, of course. But the points of how much the nuke was worth was definitely
50 points.
50 points, exactly.
Pilot error, deal with it.
Exactly. So Jet's, I mean, I'm all for, you know, Jet throwing his curveballs. I think it kind of mixes things up a little bit. It kind of makes it fun. But man, is it stressful for you and I.
Well, I think one of the things that we talked about that'd be really important for the next one is the fog of war. Like when that last game when we started, like, and I was like, all right, guys, let's get out of here. Like, I literally took one step and just a horde of BBs went by the side, by the front of my face. It was like, your guys already had machine guns lined up on my safe house, so there's no way to get out of there.
Well, I mean, we should explain this to everybody else too. What we're talking about the fog of war is that, you know, when we're developing the games, it's all on one sheet of paper, and so I can see Bob's objectives and he can see mine, and so we know where we're going to start out. And so one of the things that we've made suggestions for the next game is to keep Bob and my information separate, so that what Bob's explaining doesn't happen, and it makes it a little bit more tense on the field about where we're going to move, what we're going to do, and stuff like that. And so the fog of war is definitely an aspect of the game that could definitely change it up a bit and make it a little bit more exciting.
I actually just saw this. What might be kind of cool is, like, maybe, like, at 1 or 2 places on the field you can find, like, 10 power orders where we can finally find out, like, what you guys are searching for.
Find, like, extra stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's how you can find that intel without having to capture somebody. Because sometimes, I mean, it's so hard to capture people at games. Sometimes. It just depends on the situation, you know, but the fog of war is definitely something. I mean, 'cause if you think about, I mean, StarCraft terms, if you can see everything that's going on the map, the mystery's gone. And so there's definitely an aspect of not knowing what your enemy's doing that will make or break your decisions.
Absolutely.
On the field. But if I already know exactly where you're starting and where you need to end up, I know I need to put guys in the middle to make sure that this doesn't happen.
It was such a horrible position being stuck in that house. I had guys there were so many guys in that building shooting out that there were like 4 guys in the back room that were like waiting for their turn at the window. And like I was literally sitting there screaming at the radio. I was like, "Chris, where are you?"
Well, the funny thing was, before the start of that game, because we were winning so much, Jet actually took some of my guys away from the center of the field that were supposed to be there. Well, so we had to rearrange some guys so that it would be more feasible for you to make it.
Well, I was trying to tell them, like, you guys were going to have 80 people outside of a building where I had 20, and my guys were going to be on the other side of the battlefield. It's like give me a chance, man.
Well, I mean, you could sandwich them. Like World War II, 2 fronts. 20 months, whatever.
Okay, and scene. All right. Oh, man.
All in all, though, TPB5 was awesome.
Yeah, no, I had a really good time. That vehicle they have there. It's funny. I've been telling a lot of folks about, like, you know, these Tim vs. Bob games that, you know, haven't played paintball, haven't played airsoft, and I tell them about the buggy. They're like, "Yeah, man, this had a minigun on top, powered by or controlled by a joystick." I was like, they had a screen with, you know, regular vision. You could kick it into thermal and shoot on heat signatures, and they almost don't believe me. Like, are you serious? Yeah. That's hardcore. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, man.
Get on it.
Bob.
Get onto Airsoft, man. Drop the paintball.
I actually I talked to a guy who makes drones for a living, like for law enforcement and military, and he was like
flying drones?
Yeah. He actually wants to come to some of our events and show off some of the drones. Sweet. I know. Yeah. But he was like, really, you guys do that like in a game? I was like, yeah, man, we've used quadcopters for aerial support before. He's like, oh, we should. I'll send my business development guys to you. We'll bring out some stuff.
Is he based here in LA?
Yeah, he's works for AeroVironment. It's out in Simi Valley.
Lily just handed me some literature on some copter guy with a GoPro on it, some stuff like that.
Oh no,
this
this is like serious stuff with thermal vision, regular vision, zoom.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be sweet.
No,
Empire.
No.
Well, Bob, we have all the money. Right?
It's my connection.
We're the connection. We're the Timpire. You're the rebels. You're not supposed to have anything.
We got Maureen Chen. We've got the Taiwanese like supply of arms and nukes.
Okay, you can have that. All the silicone you want. Well, we get the
That
helicopters.
was a low blow, sir.
All the helicopters.
Low blow.
We get all the helicopters, all the vehicles. That's how the Timpire is supposed to be.
Whatever, man.
It's nice to be in charge.
Wait, do that again?
No. You're going to hit me in the nuts.
Yeah,
dude, that
like
picture that Dave took, you were like 4 guys away from me, but I knew it was coming.
No, it's funny. You and Chris from Warfighter Airsoft, even though it's vastly far away, you guys are both like,
it could
don't
happen
do it.
still.
Yeah.
It could happen. Because what happened was, we already took the photo, and you were like, can we do one more real quick?
No, I was like,
oh,
can we do one funny one? And you guys know that the funny one.
Yeah, the funny one's getting hit in the nuts. Yeah, and so I knew it was coming. So I looked stupid like 5 feet away from you, like, oh,
the best part is like Charlie from Level Cap Gaming, like he didn't know what let's take a funny picture means. So he was standing there like hips out, like nuts present and counted for, and he had no idea. So
he hasn't known you that long.
No, yeah, he doesn't. It's funny. Jed actually made that his like back profile picture.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that on Facebook.
Yeah,
pretty good. Good sports, Jed.
Yeah, good sports.
Well, we're coming to the end of our broadcast. We can't see anyone's comments.
Yeah, sorry we can't answer any comments back. We honestly, there's something wrong with...
I mean, there's comments here, but these don't upload, so these are from 30 minutes ago. Matt Paresh. Yes, this is the live stream.
Kelly Boy, go on. Kelly H.
Alright. Yeah, I mean, I can't refresh this, so I don't know how we're gonna do the comments.
No, maybe next time, I guess.
Unfortunately, yeah. But I mean, it is 5:30. Thanks for joining us for our live show. We'll catch you guys next week, same time, same place. We'll try to get all the kinks worked out. Hopefully, YouTube has the comments up so that we can. So
same GI time, same GI place.
What's that from?
Batman, the TV show.
I've never seen it.
Same bat time, same bat place.
Same GI time, same GI TV, whatever. We'll see you guys next week, Tuesday, 4:30 p.m. Thanks for joining us. Sorry about the comments. Hopefully it's working next week. Adios.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
I'll wait to cut the broadcast until I see.
Actually, let me just do this right before we cut it. Stealth mode. Attack mode.
Hold on. Do stealth mode again?
Oh. You gonna focus on it?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it. Okay. Stealth mode. Attack mode.
No, you should do it while I'm panning in. While I'm...
Do you want to do it again?
No, okay. It's been great.
Oh, shut up.
Oh.
Wait, is broadcast still going?
Yeah, because I had to wait for it to catch up. Okay, now you're saying goodbye. Blah, blah, blah.
I don't think you have to wait for it to catch up, dude.
I think I do.
Do you?
I'm not sure.
Are you sure?
No, I just said I'm not.
You're not sure.
I think you're about to do the stealth mode thing. It's so loud.